come here,
Right.
bring more jobs, well, good paying jobs, and get the economy rolling that way, so that in our local towns, not only is the money coming in from the state for revenue, but also people are able to afford to support the churches. You know, have more time. Maybe if only one person had to work, they could actually, the other person would have time to be more involved with the church again. But when you've got a husband and wife having to work, just to make ends meet,
sometimes another job.
And seniors,
second and third job.
There's people I know that wanted to retire at 65, now 67.
Can't afford it.
They're looking to see if they can keep maybe part-time jobs to keep going, because their costs don't just go down. The Medicare costs, exactly. I mean, the healthcare costs, it's hitting everybody. When it comes right down to it, the financial situation really dictates how well we can do as a community and as a state, and I think we need to make improvements. So that really is the message. And you know, I come from business. That's my goal, is to bring a business mentality to this. Let's try to work so that everybody succeeds, and not just a certain sector that happens to reside at Beacon Hill.
Let's talk about your campaign. It's growing. You had a kickoff event not too long ago, very well attended. What are some of the other events that are coming up?
Yeah, well, that kickoff was great. We had the former state reps who all held the same position, including Andy Card, who was White House Chief of Staff, Mike Sullivan, who was a U.S. Attorney and also Director of the Bureau of Tobacco and Firearms. So it's got a great lineage. Ned Kirby, another great example. I don't know if anybody knows this, but Ned was instrumental in getting the Old Colony rail line back to the South Shore. You know what that did for us was increased home values.
That helped me.
Right, and then when you've got increased home values, you're able to take maybe a second mortgage out to put your kids through college. So you can almost look at Ned and say, hey, for him, because of him, I was able to help get my kids educated. So there's Ned, and of course Ron Whitney, who's a prominent attorney right here in Whitman, and also has done a great job in representing the townspeople and businesses that have come here.
Well, it was a great representation to have all those former reps be there. And Andy Card had some stirring things to say as well. Would you like to talk about the people maybe like an Andy Card or Ned Kirby, the people that helped inspire you and inspire you now to go forward in your campaign?
All four of those gentlemen I talked to first, because I wanted to make sure that I had their blessing and could sort of get their vision about what's the key to success in running for and actually doing a good job in office. And by them showing up, obviously that they're happy that I'm running. But Andy is certainly a great example of someone who just kept working hard locally to make a difference. Actually, all of them. I mean, I really don't want to single any one of them out. So they've all been an inspiration. You can look back, though, at
Mike Sullivan.
Of course, Mike Sullivan. I mean, he's now he's opening a law practice in Boston, and he's going to be back here locally. He took a lot of time to live down in D.C. or travel to and from D.C. for I want to say it was close to 8 years when it was all said and done. And that was time that he was away from the family. He's got a daughter who was just activated in the military, and he, a lot of that time wasn't what he dedicated to the public. So, Andy spoke about when you take this oath of office, you're really taking an obligation to serve the people. And again, it goes back to talking to my wife about this and the kids. We're committed to doing what it takes to be successful in this. Now, also you mentioned events and things like that. Well, let's see, it's March now. Depending on when this airs, there's the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Abington. We've got a nice float that on Sunday.
And you'll be Geoff Diehl for that day?
Geoff Diehl for that day. That's right. That's right.
Whatever it takes.
That's it. But then we've got April. That's the convention for the Massachusetts GOP, and that'll be in Worcester. So that should be an exciting time. There's also a ride in May, a motorcycle ride, the Mass Motorcycle Association. I'll be taking part in the Storm the State House. It's sort of a fun title. They're going to go up there and just make sure that people are aware, the legislators are aware of the issues that affect.
You'll be riding a bike?
Yeah, no,
No.
I had a motorcycle in college, but my wife wasn't happy about me renewing my
okay,
my
sure.
license when we got married. So that'll be a little ways off. I can sit in the sidecar maybe.
Yeah.
But no, there's events all going on all the time. I do have a website. It's www.geoffdiehl.com, and that's GeoffDiehl.com. So people can always go there. There's a calendar to see what we're doing and what we're up to. So there's always something going on, and I think, again, things are going to certainly pick up over the summer when we're out talking to the people, going to concerts, and just getting to know, again, what people see as important, because that is the key. It's to hear, again, in FinCom, I get to hear what's important to the departments that run these towns.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk to the townspeople and get to know what's important for them. That's where it starts and stops, is what's important with them.
You talked a little bit about Andy Card and commitment to public service. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at your event you said something about you had spoken to Mike Sullivan. He says you're only halfway through this journey that you're on. How's the journey going?
Yeah, it's it's funny. It has been only. It's been. Some people are just announcing their campaigns right now,
Mm-hmm.
and yet I've already been organized for approximately a year. Again, because we don't want to take anything for granted. We want to make sure that we cover all the bases when we're running. And again, it's the same mentality I'll take into office. As a side note, I've requested from I know that Mike Sullivan, for example, had an office at the town hall. I've requested that if once in office, can I keep a town hall and be here on a regular basis, not just keep in office hours, because I want to make sure that people can feel like they can come to talk to me anytime. But yeah, no, in my case, we're about halfway through the campaign. We've got a ways to go, and it has been nothing but
Exciting to say the least, and you meet all these
that's the thing.
inspirational people in the party.
Right. It's incredible the amount of the people I've met, the amount of people that want to do something good beyond just their daily routine, the energy and effort that people put into trying to make a difference in their communities.
Yeah.
And you see that with the elected officials here locally. You see that with the state officials, and look at Scott Brown. You've got Scott Brown. Probably he himself a few months ago didn't think that he might even be sitting down there in the Senate chamber.
Right.
But look what a difference he's going to make, and it's a big sacrifice, but he's willing to make it, and he's out there representing everybody.
Well, you've met Scott Brown several times, so he's an inspiration, of course. Any other political leaders that might have inspired you or helped develop your sense of where you want to be in the political spectrum?
Yeah.
Anyone who's influenced you or really... Go ahead.
Yeah, well, as a kid who grew up, I was born in 1969, so by the time the 80s came around, I was around the time you started becoming aware of politics and all that.
Me too, the same period.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
there you go. And so, you couldn't help but, at the time when Ronald Reagan was elected, feel that it was a time that we were coming out of that crisis of confidence of the late 70s, the oil
Right.
problems, the rationing, and he took the nation and turned it around so that we actually felt a sense of unity, I'd say hope, and personal accountability for the future.
The crisis of conscience, you're referring to the old Jimmy Carter speech,
Right.
1979, about melees. He didn't use the word melees, but he was talking about what was going on in the country. Fast forward 30 years to the current administration. Similarities?
Similarities, perhaps worse. I think so. I really feel like we've got a major crisis in confidence with the leadership of the nation, and it's not just I wouldn't just say the White House. I think Congress has never had such a low approval rating.
Right.
I certainly don't. I don't blame people, whether it's nationally, statewide, or even locally, for feeling that elected officials have not been serving them, and that is something that I think we need to address and do our part in any way we can. Believe me, I've got that in the back of my mind every time I go out there and talk to people, is that I plan on truly trying to restore faith in leadership, because if we can't believe in our leaders, what can you believe in ultimately? You've got to feel like you go to work and somebody's steering the ship the right way.
And I like the idea that you want that office in the town hall. You're going to be accessible. We're actually running out of time, and the crew is anxious to begin their beautiful day. I want to thank you, Geoff, for being our guest today. We hope to do more of these shows. Maybe we'll tackle the social issues down the road. We'll solve whatever problems we can in this setting.